Hi friends, in this video we will discuss what are the consequences of transfer of property. We discuss about the transfer of property. Why this topic is so important? Because property means the ownership. So the question of ownership is very important because whenever any case is filed in the court of law will inquire who is the person who is the owner of the property. So now we will see what are the consequences when the property gets transferred from the seller to the buyer. With the transfer of property means with the transfer of ownership, the owner gets various rights and responsibilities. So all the rights can be exercised only by the owner, and the owner is responsible for various things also, which are as follows. First is the risk of loss. In case any kind of loss occurs to the goods, so who is going to bear that loss? The court will see who is the owner of the goods. So as and when the property passes, so it will be seen that at that time who was the owner when the risk has occurred. Second is right to take action against the third parties. So if in case any third party is giving damage to the goods, so who can file a suit in the court of law against the third party? It is only and only the owner who can sue the third party. A stranger cannot sue a third party. Only the owner has this right. Suit for price. So who can sue for the price? It is the seller who can sue the buyer for the price. So as and when the property gets transferred from the seller to the buyer, immediately the seller has a right to recover the price, and if the buyer is not paying the price, it is the seller who can sue in the court of law. Legal rights of official assignee. Now the question arises, who is the official assignee? So whenever a person is declared to be insolvent, there is a person who is appointed by the government, and he is a government officer known as official assignee or official receiver. So what is the responsibility of this person? He will take all the assets of the person who has been insolvent and will try to pay off the liabilities. So he is like an independent person who will be taking care of the assets and liabilities of insolvent person. So in this case, when in case the seller becomes insolvent, if the seller is insolvent, what does official assignee will do? The official assignee of the seller who has become insolvent can take over the property of the goods of seller only if the ownership rights are still with the seller. So official assignee will be first of all collecting all the assets, because this is the official assignee of seller. So he will see whether the property has passed on or not. If the property has not passed on from the seller to the buyer, so what he will do is he will just collect all the assets and he will seize the asset also. Second question arises, if the buyer gets insolvent. So when the buyer becomes insolvent, the official assignee of the buyer can take over the property of the goods only if the ownership right has been transferred in the name of the buyer. So here the official assignee will see whether the property has been assigned in the name of the buyer or not. If the property has been passed on from the seller to the buyer, so he will be collecting that asset on the behalf of the buyer. So these many are the reasons why the question of transfer of property is so important, because the risk of loss, the risk to take the right to take the action against the third parties, suing for price, what are the rights of the legal assignee, all these things depend upon with whom the ownership rights are. Thank you so much.